I get it when a friend asks, should I drop $2,000 on a new gaming laptop or stick with what I have? You're suddenly scrolling through endless specs, trying to picture how a machine will feel on a cramped couch, in a dorm hallway, or on a coffee shop table. You're also wondering if you'll end up with a pricey brick that overheats, or a sleek slab that can actually keep up with the latest titles without draining the battery before the first level is over. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through the Dell 16 laptop and see whether it actually bridges that gap between cool on paper and cool in real life. First off, the 16-inch FHD Plus touchscreen is one of the first things you notice when you open the lid. The panel is bright enough for a sunny room, and the touch capability adds a little extra flexibility for things like photo editing or navigating a streaming platform without reaching for the mouse. In a gaming context, the higher pixel density makes textures look a bit sharper than a standard 1080p panel, which is nice if you're playing titles that benefit from crisp UI. Think strategy games where you're constantly scanning the minimap. The downside: the extra brightness and touch layer can nudge the power draw a bit higher, meaning the battery tapers off faster than on a non-touch 15-inch model. In my own weekend sessions, I could get about 2 to 3 hours of serious play before needing to plug in, so if you plan on long flights or marathon gaming in a power-scarce environment, this isn't the laptop you want to bet on. The heart of the machine is the AMD Ryzen 7 250 processor paired with 32GB of DDR5 RAM. That combination feels solid for anything from open-world RPGs to video editing workloads. I ran a couple of recent releases Cyberpunk 2077 on medium settings and Elden Ring on low medium, and the CPU never became the bottleneck. The framerate fluctuations were more about the graphics side. The massive RAM pool eliminates stutter when you have multiple tabs, Discord, and a recording overlay running simultaneously. It's the kind of setup that lets you jump from a multiplayer match straight into a quick render without watching the system gulp for memory. However, the specs sheet doesn't call out a dedicated GPU, which is a red flag for anyone looking to push high settings. Without a clear graphics card, you're likely relying on an integrated solution that will cap you out around 60 frames per second on older titles and struggle with newer, more demanding games. If you're aiming to play Fortnite or Valorant at high refresh rates, you'll probably feel that limitation. Heat and fan noise are the twin monsters of any gaming laptop, and the Dell 16 does a respectable job of keeping them in check for short bursts. Under a 30-minute Assassin's Creed session, the fans spin up to a moderate whine, audible but not distracting, and the chassis stays warm to the touch without getting uncomfortably hot on the palm rest. The downside appears when you push the machine for an hour plus straight like a raid night with friends. After about 70 minutes of continuous load, the fans climb in pitch, and the bottom of the laptop starts to feel noticeably warmer. It's not a catastrophic overheating issue, but it does mean you'll want a cooling pad if you regularly sit on a soft surface or have limited airflow. Battery life, as mentioned earlier, is more of an afterthought on this model. The 16-inch display, the 32GB of RAM, and the high-performance CPU all chew through the 90Wh battery quickly. In everyday use web browsing, streaming, light office work you'll see around 5 to 6 hours, which is decent for a laptop of this size. In gaming mode, expect 2 to 3 hours, and if you're also streaming your gameplay, you might dip below that. For a gamer who needs to hop between coffee shops or university libraries, you'll need to keep the charger handy, which somewhat defeats the portable promise. Portability is another point where the Dell 16 walks a tightrope. At 16 inches, the device is bigger than the typical 15-inch gaming laptop, and it weighs close to 5.5 pounds with the battery installed. It's not a backpack killer, but it's also not something you'll want to lug around all day. If you're a student who carries a bag full of textbooks, a charger, and a mouse, you'll feel the extra bulk. On the flip side, the backlit keyboard is a nice touch for dimly lit dorm rooms or late-night gaming sessions, and the key travel feels satisfying enough for fast-paced shooters where tactile feedback matters. Now, who should actually consider spending on this Dell 16? If you're a gamer who also dabbles in content creation, say you edit YouTube videos, do some light photo work, and want a machine that can handle those tasks without pulling a separate workstation, this laptop gives you a solid CPU and a ton of RAM in a single package. The touch screen can double as a drawing surface for quick sketches, and the